listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So I spent the weekend binging on that new Netflix series. I don't know if either of you have done that. It's called Nobody Wants This.
Oh, I've heard about it, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah. So
I haven't heard about it. Tell me.
Okay, so it's Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. It's a rom-com series. It was created by Erin Foster, who is one of the children of David Foster. I don't know where she comes in his 6 marriages or whatever, but
well, if you don't know, nobody knows. So
exactly.
Continue.
I'm not entirely sure where she falls in the lineage, but her and her sister did a podcast together, and she is married to a Jewish man. So she created a series about Kristen Bell and her sister do a podcast, and she ends up, Kristen Bell, in a relationship with a rabbi. So not too far from what's going on in her real life. But it's very funny. It's very sweet. But I have to say, one scene happened that I knew, oh my gosh, the old I have been seen, and I knew the two of you would laugh so hard. So the sisters are making the podcast, and they have a producer that is working with them because it's doing very well. And the sister is, the producer is walking with the two sisters, and she says, don't forget about the meeting this Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And Kristen Bell says, well, that's new information. And she says, no, it's definitely not new information. I sent it to you a month ago. You said you'd be at this meeting. And she says, well, I don't know if I can do this because I've made plans. And she said, yes, of course you've made plans. This is your plan. And she goes, sorry, it's going to take me a few minutes to react to this new information. And she's like, no, it is not new information.
I feel like you just reenacted a scene between the three of us.
I know.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
That took place like a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. That line, though.
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing.
No.
It's not funny.
Well, to be fair to you, the producer was not laughing either.
Yeah.
So anyway, it turns out wrangling a podcast is very challenging, and maybe I've underestimated, how hard it is to do this.
You cannot see AG's face, but watching her
wow.
Stone cold, as Lisa says, it turns out wrangling a podcast.
Whoa. If looks could kill, I'm turning to ice here.
Honestly, thank goodness we don't all record in the same room anymore.
No, we are doing I could see you, if we were, hurling yourself over a wall like a zombie toward me to eat my face.
Oh my God.
I don't even know what to say at this point, but that you find it so hilarious that you saw this on TV because this is our lives.
Sometimes you need that real mirror to be held up to you. That's
right?
not a mirror. It's actually a produced television series. And
anyway.
I'm glad you found something to relate to in this show, Lisa.
Well, I mean, it screamed in my face that yeah.
It screamed in your face in the way that only the television show could, because AG's not really a screamer.
No, no. And again, Kristen Bell, not quite the dirtbag of The Good Place, but close. Very close. So also I saw myself in the dirtbag character. So that was something too.
I mean, I gotta say, I don't think I would ever personally describe you as a dirtbag. Like, you're too ultimately like kind and anxious to be a dirtbag because
Thank you.
there's just no
it's
way.
True. It's
Like,
true.
you might forget stuff and, a touch of the undiagnosed ADHD, but I wouldn't describe you as dirtbag.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
going to take that as compliments in this situation.
I mean, this must have been a week for you, Lisa, because you also sent on Instagram, you forwarded me this thing about that made you feel really seen. That it was this thing that says like me on TikTok. Yes, I'll watch this guy spray paint a credit card. Me on Netflix. This award-winning film doesn't really appeal to my interests. That also is you in a nutshell.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, it's nice to know you're not alone.
You're
right?
being read for filth, man. Like, holy, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I know. I just, when you see yourself, I think the important thing is to acknowledge it. And,
Absolutely.
not, say, I'm better than that. Because I know I'm not. So, yeah, that's where I am.
Oh, my God. Wow.
You will not watch a movie over 90 minutes, but you will like cumulatively watch TikTok for like 8 hours.
It's I think what they call that is new math. So it's just it's just a whole new way of looking at entertainment, I mean, and one day, I'm sure they'll give awards for
TikToks.
TikToks.
I'm sure that those exist already.
They probably already give awards for best TikToks, I gotta say. I have to imagine.
Well, I wondered if we were going through a sort of weird cycle too, because there used to be do they still give out the Webbies? I haven't heard about those in so long. They do. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the Webbies are still a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
They seemed like a really big thing once, and now I don't hear about them as much. But
I think when Twitter was more popular, the Webbies were a bigger thing because people were in a much more shared social space and being able to like sort of talk about it. And now that it's a bit more siloed, it's harder, I guess. Right.
But well, I might, work on some nominating of, some really good TikToks.
Oscar-winning TikToks.
What a great way to spend your time.
Well, again, my attention span is very short, as we've determined. And it turns out little bite-sized bits of information work really well for me. But
bite-sized does seem like the appropriate segue.
Oh,
sorry, so sorry.
Nice. Oh, I'm very impressed. Well done.
I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And you're listening to Pop This. And we are going on with our zombie month. What an upgrade, friends, from last week.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about Train to Busan. And I had never seen it before. I'd heard about it. I loved it with all of my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My still beating heart.
Well, that's the word, isn't it? Because it's a zombie film with a ton of heart. And I think that was definitely what we were missing from last week.
Yeah. Characters you cared about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just a little. AG, do you want to read the background?
Sure. Train to Busan is a 2016 South Korean action horror film directed by Yoon Sang-ho and starring Gong Yoo, Jung Yoo-mi, Ma Dong-suk, Kim Soo-an, Choi Woo-shik, An So-hee, and Kim Yoo-sang. The film mostly takes place on a KTX, which is a train, from Seoul to Busan as a zombie apocalypse suddenly breaks out in the country and threatens the safety of the passengers. The movie successfully launched the Train to Busan film series with the animated prequel Seoul Station released in 2016 and the standalone sequel named Peninsula released in 2020. I did not know that, and now I have to track down those things and watch them as well.
Yeah, I didn't know about it either until I read the Wikipedia and put it in this.
Yeah, I didn't know about Peninsula. That's wow. Okay, yeah, I'll have to
I
watch
know,
some more.
excited.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lisa, do you want to read the synopsis?
Sure. Elite passengers on a South Korean bullet train face a twitching, hissing threat from the cheap seats in Train to Busan, a public transportation horror movie with a side helping of class warfare. A flattened deer mowed down in a quarantine zone in Seoul, where some kind of chemical spill has occurred, springs back to life. Then, in just a few swiftly efficient scenes, we meet a harried hedge fund manager and his small, sad daughter, see them settled on the titular locomotive, and watch in dismay as a vividly unwell last-minute passenger lurches on board. And we're off! And that's from the New York Times Film Review by Jeanette Katsolis.
Thank you so much. So, Lisa, you'd seen it before. AG, you'd seen it before too?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fan of South Korean movies. And so even though I don't watch zombie movies, this kind of fell into that category. So being like one of the biggest that's come out in the last decade. So I
As
have
like someone
watched it.
who doesn't typically like zombie movies and you liked this, tell us a little bit more about like how it got you.
Well, I mean, it's just a nonstop action thriller. It was gory, which I don't like, but I didn't mind it in this movie actually, because I was just so engrossed with what was happening and what was going to happen next and what they were going to do. And I think it just like this movie is really great because it draws you in because like everybody can imagine themselves being a passenger and trapped on a train and trying to figure out what to do about it and what they would do in that position. And so yeah, I think that this movie is really excellent at just like putting you in that seat and just being like, what if this happened to me?
Yeah, like I felt like I was in that train.
Yeah.
Like in a big way. And every time they got off the train, I actually started to feel even more panic and dread.
Mm-hmm.
Because like at least the train, they're kind of in moments they felt safe-ish. In
Mhm.
moments. Not all the time, but like in moments they felt like they had at least stuck in the bathroom, they were like okay or whatever. And then as soon as they would get off, I would start to panic for them. And I was thoroughly invested. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, we'll get to more points throughout, but like, I was deeply invested in this movie. Lisa,
Oh.
you also loved it, and you came back to it and watched it again.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's
No.
2 hours. So
Yeah, right? I mean, that's a total of 4 hours now.
you've devoted to this film.
That-
No, but tell me,
yes.
tell me what you liked about it, and is it different for you from the first time to this time?
Yeah, I think this time when you know what the story is, you know how it's going to unfold. I started noticing a few, like fun small things like at the very beginning when I mean it's a beautiful train and they have practically, I guess, train attendants, not flight attendants.
Mhm.
But when the one train attendant's scarf is askew,
Yeah,
and now it just seems so hilarious that
yeah.
by the way, decorum,
Of course, decorum. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, of course, right? And then in 5 minutes, she's chomping down on someone else's face, right? So
Absolutely.
I think it was a lot of those little things like the conversation about the ringtone, what's wrong with it, just some of those human sort of moments. I was sort of savoring more. Ooh, bad pun. And I think what's interesting too, and I've never seen someone do this, but like kind of make a spreadsheet about zombie films and how they die. Do they move fast and slow? Like I saw in the outline that, one of the references that it didn't have guns in this one, so you couldn't shoot them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But we found out that they can't see in the dark. So when they're
Yeah.
going through the tunnels, they've got a bit of breathing room. So I thought that was really interesting to add that element to the story as well, to give people a chance to do something, so I just, and the reason I really like this one too is similar to why I like Shaun of the Dead is the relationships. You
Yeah.
get to know these people and that one, that father struggling, that he has let down his daughter and, that full circle with her singing and, like they just knew how to grab you.
But so Lisa, last week when we were talking about Dawn of the Dead, you were saying that there are rules of zombie films
Yeah, that's what I
that
mean.
people should
Yeah.
understand. But like, what are they besides the biting thing? Like, is they can't see in the dark? Something
was
else you've seen
new.
in other movies?
That was new. And also, I don't know, it seems that generally I haven't seen a movie where they don't die by being shot in the head. That seems like a pretty, like, you got to get their brain or something. So that seems to be a constant, but it's hard to say because nobody had a gun in this movie. Which I don't know a lot about South Korean culture. Not a big gun culture, I guess.
Well, I mean, at the end of the film, the army came in and
Well, that's true. They all had the guns. Yeah.
So it looked like they were gonna shoot infected people.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's probably the same. Like you have to shoot them in the head or something.
Because they were all dead outside the tunnel too, as opposed to have
Yeah.
turned into zombies. So I presume they had their heads shot. So yeah, it seems that, but the whole slow, fast zombie thing, that seems kind of up in the air, right? It seems like you make a choice about whether, and also about how long it takes to get infected.
Mm-hmm.
I notice there's a variable there.
Yeah, I was curious what the variable of that too, actually, in this movie, because, well, I mean, I guess in both zombie films that we've watched so far, but like, and also just because they couldn't figure out how to work door handles and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so, but like at the end, when the really affluent, greedy jerk finally turns, he hasn't, it seemed, fully turned quite yet because he's still able to work a door handle.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, and he doesn't turn super fast, whereas other people seem to turn really
Mhm.
quickly. And so I wasn't sure if that was depending on the number of bites you had.
Well,
or
also,
like,
there's a difference between just getting bitten and then having that thing just on top of you, I guess, right?
I don't know, because isn't
Yeah.
it through the bite that you turn?
Yeah, but the other people are being like literally ravaged, right? And then they
I
seem,
guess, and like torn up and eaten up. Yeah.
whereas this maybe takes a few seconds to get into the bloodstream.
Well, didn't it
yeah.
used to be that like zombies were eating brains?
Yeah, because there is a zombie film called Brains.
Well, and that's the other thing is like if you need to attack the brain, shooting them in the brain works, obviously, but then like beating them with a baseball bat in the head would also be a bit of a brain smusher.
Well, it gets them out of the way, I guess.
Well, I wonder, but would it kill them?
I know we're not worried about spoilers here, but just going to jump ahead because I was wondering that beautiful ending where the father is slowly dying.
Yeah.
And having that beautiful moment of remembering when his daughter was born.
Yeah.
And that big smile on his face. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice to know all of them got that? But maybe they didn't. I don't know, because they all seem to, some of them just seem to get bitten and then just turn quickly.
Well, I don't know. And like the
Mhm.
other thing about that is that like he has like kind of a slow turn in that way that he gets to have this moment where he sees, and then he throws himself off the train. But
yeah.
it's not like there's another train behind him. Like I don't like he could. To me, he could just bounce back up off of the train tracks as a turned zombie.
That's true.
Well, that's what
And
he is going to be, I guess. Yeah.
He could still be around today, is what you're saying.
Yes, like the legacy might not be that he like killed himself per se. It was just like a nice shot and a symbolic gesture.
Mhm.
But like hopefully they got far enough away that he like
Oh, like how far did the train go from him? Yeah, right.
because it didn't seem to go that far, but like in addition, like he could just run alongside the train and like have chased them into the tunnel and killed them both before.
Well,
they
that's
got
a different
to safety.
ending.
I know.
Wow,
Sorry,
you just like wanted to take that beautiful ending away from us.
No, I
and-
don't because I love, my God, that ending I found so devastating, so beautiful. I was sobbing audibly across the room and Carlos turned and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like,
Aw.
"No, it's fine." But like that little girl is
Oh my
giving like a
gosh.
terms of endearment level
Yeah.
performance. Kim Soo-an as Soo-an. I immediately looked to see if I could find out if she is like a superstar now, and she's continued to work, but not to the same extent that I would have expected her to, unless that film just like ruined her soul, because it was so dramatic and traumatic. Because she's incredible in it.
It just seems like it would have been an incredibly long film to work on too, because so much had to go into each one of those scenes. Like so many, like with the bodies flying, like there was very little, you know what I mean? That was just scenes where we've just got one or two people. So many of them were these big, giant, trying to get through this car and everyone going out, or like when they went to that train station and of course, that as soon as they thought they were free, that
But
weren't. But
so, I mean, we haven't heard A-Dub's thoughts on this movie yet, but I just wanted to ask one more question about like zombie tropes. Is it a trope that like people always have to band together and work together, and it becomes like a thing where like disparate strangers have to rely on each other to survive? Is that like usually the common kind of story?
100%. That it is definitely, though they're all supposed to be stories about how human beings work together and how, as we noted, that the zombies are one thing, but dealing with other people, that's the hard part.
Who are the real monsters?
Who are the real monsters? Exactly. Right. Yeah. And that's always there too. So
you definitely get those moments in this movie, man.
Yeah, it's about starting a new civilization, right? It's about how are we going to redo all of this.
Yeah, but just like right from the beginning, people are like screwing each other over every which way. It's like, man. And it plays on your fear of what would happen if like chaos broke out and like you were stuck in a situation like that and people were just panicking, and what would happen? Like, would you get trampled? Would people not help you? Like, yeah, it just kind of preys on that fear.
Well, this is why I was like what I was talking about last week of how like this, it made me very unsettled thinking about the early part of the pandemic and like how obviously I'm not saying this like on a global level necessarily that it happened, but like I was so relieved to see people seemingly genuinely come together for at least the first 4 weeks, because my profound fear was that there would immediately be people who were just like, I'm looking out for number one and that's that. And I didn't want to believe that, but that was like a little bit of my fear. But like overwhelmingly, we saw that really wasn't quite the case. So like watching this movie where we've got this like guy who's clearly not a hero. He's very self-involved. He's like constantly telling his daughter. Sorry?
I love that part where they talk about that they ask him what he does, and she's like, "He's a fund manager," and the guy's like, "So he leeches off other people."
Yeah,
exactly.
She's like, "You're not supposed to say that out loud," and the little girl's like, "He's just saying what everybody's thinking."
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's it. Like the little girl, like continues to be this like amazing innocent and just like believe in helping people, and like is having this moment where she like wants to help this like older woman take a seat because Granny's knees hurt and she always want, like just like these like heartbreaking moments. And you see this man who has become quite detached from his humanity and like the child that he is for some reason raising. Like I don't know why she's not with her mother necessarily. We don't have a good reason for that other than the mother left, and so she's this like pawn and like another thing that he gets to sort of show off in addition to his wealth. And like it's quite a bleak beginning, and I found like watching him slowly change over the film it felt like a more believable change, like he has no choice but to be confronted with his own inadequacies over and over and over again. And then he meets this like polar opposite dude who's like this big beefy like, and the expectation is that he's going to be like a jerk and dumb and stuff like that. And he's behaving quite heroically, and his wife is hilarious and constantly berating him in her own special way. But like, she obviously loves him so much and is pregnant. And I was really delighted with the kind of character developments that we got, even if they are a little bit tropey or whatever. I appreciated that like they still had room to sort of grow and develop and react to each other in a way that felt real.
Maybe the weird thing about life is that we all think we're very unique, But but when we meet a
Absolutely.
screenwriter, he's like, no, you're this trope, or you're this trope, or you're this trope. So
It's
you know.
true. Like, yeah, I do think we all, for the most part, think we're the stars of the story. But like,
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, sometimes, sure. Most of the time, we're all in a bit of a ensemble, friends, and
Yes.
that's better for all of us in the long run. Like,
I did. I was going to say I did see an Australian zombie film starring. Oh gosh, I always call him Tim from The Office. He also played Bilbo Baggins. Martin Freeman.
Oh yeah,
And so it's Australian, and one of the people he comes across is one of those guys that was like a prepper. So, I mean, he has all the food, he has all the weapons, he's got an enclosure, and he's kidnapped this woman.
ugh,
Yeah, because he can. There's no one to save her. There's nothing anyone can do. So the interesting thing about this story is this guy is thrilled. Like the zombie apocalypse is
it's
definitely
his time to shine.
yes, the best thing that's ever happened to him. And it's so creepy to think of that. But, you know, he had no friends anyway, right? He was social outcast.
God.
And so here he is now. He is, the king of the world. And
Ugh.
yeah, I know it. And I guess that back to what I really like about zombie films is that the world has ended and it's starting over again. What does that look like?
Yeah, in that guy's frame of mind, it's real nightmare. I honestly kind of hope the world does end for that guy.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie though is like so full of like hope and heart, and like even like, so when the sisters get separated and then eventually finally they like sort of get to see each other again, and it's like the most tragic reunion, but like to see the one sister's just smile so happily to like at least to get to lay eyes on her sister, and then obviously immediately get devoured, and then the other sister is like,
let me guess, that was one of the times that you were weeping.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
When
me
that
too.
sister is like railing against how like kind her sister was, and like how obviously it got her killed, and how could she be so stupid? But like, you know, she's just mad at herself as well, and she's just like has spent her entire life trying to like wrap her brain around how her sister can be so kind, but that she is so maybe not quite in the same way, and like that they still obviously like mean a lot to each other. Like, it was a lot.
Yeah. But this movie gives you so much. It has sort of like a bit of redemption for even the worst of the characters, because like even that horrible, I don't know, businessman that is just out for himself throughout the whole movie and shuts other people out of the car and throws other people towards zombies to get eaten and whatnot. Like at the end, like a bit of a turn when he turns into a zombie himself and he starts talking about like, this is my name and this is where I'm from, and my mom, I want to be returned to my mother. And
Yeah.
at that, like even he gets like a turn. Like this movie is so nuanced that it gave him like this moment where you're just like, wow, like he just wants to get home to his mom.
This is what blew my mind about this like one review that I'm just so mad about. I haven't read the whole review. I don't want to. It's excerpted, and that's what I'll share. But a writer for the playlist wrote, Train to Busan doesn't add anything significant to the zombie genre, nor has anything perceptive to say about humanity in the face of crisis. Sure, it lacks brains, and that's the easy quip to make, but what Train to Busan truly needs and disappointingly lacks is heart. What movie was this person watching?
That. Yeah.
What and again, and why start the review off like doesn't add anything new to the zombie genre? Like literally, that expectation is not there. Like if you want to, that's great. Otherwise, people are just making zombie films, and you don't have to. So this movie went out of its way.
For sure is going out of his way to like sort of bring a read. But also it does, because we suddenly found out that in this zombie crisis, the zombies cannot see or perceive anything in the dark.
Yep. There you go. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's huge. And like they also can't figure out door handles for the most part.
For the most part.
For the most,
and they're also attracted to like sounds.
Yeah. It's not just flesh that they're going for. It's sounds. Give them one of those kitty laser pointers. You got them entertained for hours.
They're very focused.
But it's also like kind of genius how it happens on basically like this public transportation train where they're trapped and can't get off.
Yeah.
Because it draws together like all different kinds of people from all levels of society, and they're also trapped.
Like snakes on a plane.
Yeah.
Honestly, Snakes on a Plane, I haven't seen it since it first came out, but I really had a good time watching that.
I could never, ever watch that.
Oh, really?
No, I have a big snake phobia. So.
Oh, I did not know that.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm
Luckily,
sorry.
though, I'm fine with spiders, which I know some people have a hard time with. You're okay with snakes, but not spiders?
I just like both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with snakes and spiders, but not rats. That's my true fear.
Oh, well, I'm not big on rats.
Yeah, I mean, who's big on rat? Oh, no, actually, wait. Sanera, many-time guest Sanera Geisler.
Yeah, Sanera had a
told us
pet
on
rat.
this podcast. She had a pet rat, and she loved
him.
rats.
Yeah. No, she, and I, look, Sarah and I, very close, but I am pleased that she does not currently own a rat. I would find it extremely difficult to be in her home.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing I feel with snakes. I had to go once. I went to a house. I was visiting a friend in London, and she's like, "Oh, my friend invited me for dinner, and his roommate had a python."
Oh my God.
No, thank you. No,
I think it's cool as long as you can see it. The python's not moving fast, though.
Well, so I went in, and I was like, "Okay, can we just, in case it comes up later, let's bring the python out." I would prefer not, because I'm not good with snakes.
Yeah.
And the guy went and put it on his arm and came to me toward it. And, there's a lot of memories that if someone said, "Remember when you did that thing?" And I'd be like, "I did." That is a memory that is so clear.
Yeah.
I can practically smell.
What did you do?
Well, I just started moving backwards. Like I didn't even know what was behind me, and I just kept going. And then finally the house ended. I was in the kitchen.
Oh my God.
My back was to the sink. And luckily somebody just yelled, "Stop it." And he went and put it back in the aquarium or whatever it was in.
What an uncomfortable dinner it must have been afterwards.
Worst.
Yeah.
The worst. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, that's not cool, man. I'm sorry.
So even if you don't said you don't mind snakes, but would that upset you though? A python?
No, I'd be fine with it. And honestly, I'd probably pet it or something. But
really? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
But you know what? I will say, so one time I was working a table at the Victoria Folk Festival. I think I was doing entrance or exit or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I was volunteering and a person came up with their pet ferret.
Mm.
So I'm terrified of rats and I don't love ferrets.
Oh.
But
okay.
they're quite rat-like to me. And the person was just like, "Oh, you want to meet my ferret?" And I knew what was happening before I said. I just stayed quiet. And he put the ferret on me.
Oh.
You don't just do that to somebody.
People are so cruel to animals. So cruel to animals.
People love to do stuff like that to animals, to strangers. Real weird power move stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway. And so this ferret crawled up my arm, wrapped itself around my neck, and just snuggled in for a while. And eventually the person took it off of me. And I was, obviously I survived, but I was very still and very quiet. And then they left. And my friend was beside me and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Uh-huh." He's like, "Can you move?" And I was like, I'm gonna need a minute. Gonna need a minute.
Wow.
That was not okay. It was just not okay. And
wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I did not care for it.
How horrible. I would have arrested that man. On nothing but that's just, cruel to you, cruel to the animal. Just awful.
Yeah, I don't love it. I don't love it. And honestly, in a zombie apocalypse, how many different sorts of animals I mean, I hope they all survive, but like if zombies aren't into like animals, like this is the chance for all of these like exotic pets to rule the world.
Except for they can become zombies, apparently, because that deer at the beginning is a
Oh
zombie.
God, you're right. The deer
The
became a zombie.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
that's a whole other film. Zombie
Maybe
animals,
that's what
right?
Peninsula is. The
Maybe.
rise of the zombie deer.
The rise of the zombie deer.
Honestly, that they'd be on a peninsula, like for sure. Like they love a peninsula, right?
It's kind of like a Pet Cemetery,
Yes, kind of.
right?
So I think I've shared my standout moments, but what were some standout moments for you guys?
Well, I mean, that ending is pretty beautiful.
The ending just rips your heart out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It does. Like, even though you think you like don't really, and that's what I think this movie makes this movie unusual too, because you think that guy is the protagonist of this film, and that he's going to survive to the end of the film. And when he dies off, or as Andrea Warner pointed out, maybe not, just falls off the train. At the end, you're just like, you come to this realization that the little girl is like the heart of this film, and the person that we're following through the film. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit unexpected. Like, I knew the second time, obviously, when I was watching, I was paying more attention to the little girl. But when I watched the movie the first time, I just conditioned to see that the fund manager, Suk-woo, as being like the main person that we were following, and he was somehow going to make it through this. And I think the movie just at first makes you kind of not like him because he's so selfish, and then he goes through this arc where you're like, he's kind of redeeming himself by doing all these things, and then it just, like, a minute before the movie ends, just kind of kills him off, and it just rips your heart out. And I think that's what makes this movie amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I mean, on the fun side, I thought when the three of our survivors decide to start going through the cars, and they're wrapping their arms up like ready for some kind of gladiator event. There was something, the camaraderie, the spirit, the can do, that I really liked, that idea. I've seen like films too where they try to distract the zombies by, I think it was Shaun of the Dead, where they just walk like them and they get through.
Yes.
But I thought that was a great scene.
Did you recognize Edward Choi, who plays the baseball kid? He is also in Parasite.
Oh.
But also, fun fact, he grew up in Vancouver. And he was born in South Korea, and then he immigrated here at age 5 with his family, and then grew up. He went to Simon SFU for, I don't know, a couple years, and then moved back to South Korea and became a huge movie star.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, nice aside there.
He was good too. Like I really liked his character as sort of being this like being sort of like a soft boy, like he has like feelings and emotions and cries and like has all of these different sort of layers to him. And it's such a different type of masculinity compared to the other two like sort of male leads. And
yeah, like when he comes into the car and it's just the baseball players that are all zombies.
Yeah, and he's like devastated.
Yes.
Like, and even the character who is obviously quite distressed by what he has witnessed and is maybe unhoused, I'm not really sure, but like, the buff guy is saying like, don't be like him when you grow up, like go to whatever. Right, and he's like being a bit cruel and dismissive about him, but like that character is so like he's not super developed at any point, but like the ways in which he does everything he can to survive until it comes to the point where he sacrifices himself for Sue-Ann and the pregnant woman. Like he's a hero too. And I just like, I love the different ways that people get to be heroes in this movie. Because it's not who you always think of. And it's not, but it's like, it's very like, humanizing, even if his character doesn't get much development and he is a bit disparaged. He still ends up being someone that they take care of, take in, and they all kind of rally together. I don't know. I really liked, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's this like some of the quotes from the review on rogerebert.com. The writer talks about how the movie is delivering something unique for an era in which kindness to others seems more essential than ever. And then later goes on to say, even in our darkest days, we need to look out for each other, and it is those who climb over the weak to save themselves who will suffer. I do believe in that ultimately, but like I really love the social commentary in this film as well, because they're like talking about class politics and they're talking about all kinds of different things that are going on, but they're doing it through character development and character interaction, not through like speeches and monologues. And they're doing a really beautiful job of like showing, not telling.
I maybe should have asked this as we started Zombie Month, but do these movies make you wonder about what you would do? Like, who would you be? Like, how would you react to?
Well, I was thinking about something you said last week while we were watching, and because we talked about how, like, would you want to be just zombified right away, or would you want to be just like screaming and running around in terror for 3 hours and then become a zombie? And Lisa, you're kind of like,
I'm out.
Yeah. I was thinking about that while I was watching this movie.
I mean, it's different and I think that's like in this movie, people have to take care of others. So they don't feel that, I don't want to call it luxury, but you know what I mean? They're taking care of people. But to be fair, on the road, this mother but then she knew her husband was there with their son. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's different when you have to take care of somebody. Then you feel this obligation to try and stay alive. But otherwise, that just seems like an awful lot of nonsense, really.
I mean, I think I would want to try and stay alive because I feel personally obligated to a lot of people. I also am like super terrified of death, not into it at all.
Like most people.
Yeah, I was going to say,
like some people really classically believe in an afterlife or a better place or yada yada, but that's just not. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the case, and it bums me out. I wish I did, but I just don't. And yeah, like the idea of like just being nothing and ceasing to exist really actually causes me quite a lot of existential dread.
Let me add, though, in this situation, you would die and not cease to exist. You would be a ravaging zombie. So
we don't know anything about a zombie's inner life.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't spent time. Like once they get past that, rah, 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 maybe they've got like time to get a manicure. I don't know. I get the feeling that they would just like eat people's fingernails off though, instead of just like painting their own. So I don't see necessarily a zombie life for me.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. That's the thing.
You know, you make the best of it.
But I think I would like to make a go of it because I feel quite attached to living. As it turns out, I have quite a lot of get up and go for.
Would
living.
you be the? Are you one of those rifle toting on the thigh? You know, like that.
I mean, I guess if I had to be, I think I could be a good shot. Like, not positive. I think I would feel okay shooting a zombie. I'd be less pleased about having to shoot people.
It's not the same, but when we were talking about spiders and such, I was thinking about how when I was 19, I spent the summer in Taiwan, which is like a tropical island that's very hot with lots of bugs that you don't see in Canada. And it's amazing how I went there as a person who was a little fearful of bugs, but you go there and you just decide that like this cockroach in my room can't live, or else I will never sleep while I'm in this room. And so you just become this person who can take a slipper and just smash
Beat it
it,
to death.
and
Yeah.
as quickly as possible and just move on.
How big are we talking this cockroaches, by the way?
Oh, like I would say 3 inches. Like they're big and hard shells.
That's the thing. Like
Oh!
I think we can adapt to circumstances that we can't imagine
Because like
that's what
yeah.
we do as humans.
Well, like cuz when I came home to Vancouver, and I don't know, I might have lost it by now because it was such a long time ago, but I just did not fear insects anymore. Like if it was crossed my path, I would just boom, get rid of it, gone. Didn't even think twice about it.
Yeah, like my whole thing about being a pacifist, that's very theory based. I don't know what I would do in the
Exactly.
face of
No.
an actual situation. So I'm going to hold on to this idea that I don't kill things with any sense of malice or intent. I think doing stuff for survival is quite different than doing stuff for sport. So, if we suddenly did have like a zombie situation, but we got it under control relatively quickly, and then you could go out and shoot zombies for sport, I don't think I would. I think it would have to be a survival situation.
But at a certain point, if you were like in a zombie apocalypse, my guess is that, I don't know, they must die out because they can't multiply. They can't live forever unless, do they have to have, like, that's a thing I don't know about zombies. Do they need to have food to keep going, like as in people, or do they just drop over after a while?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They have an insatiable hunger, but does that hunger actually have any meaning to their existence? I don't know.
Yeah. So if that were the case, this is my, I'm thinking out loud here, but if there's a possibility that all of these zombies could sort of like die out at the same time, if they were all infected around the same time, perhaps something happens and then you would just end up with being on the planet with just a bunch of dead zombies and your survivor people, right?
Well, that's what I'm curious as to what happens with they've got this like huge barricade around the city, and the two come through, and again, thank goodness the little girl starts singing so that they know that they're not zombies, because I guess what they've learned in 24 hours is that zombies don't sing, and they're going to be welcomed into the other side of this barricade. But I have a very difficult time understanding what the other side of that barricade looks like.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully what I'm thinking is they go live there, right? Maybe her mom's even still around if she's in Busan, right?
Maybe.
So anyway, they keep living, and then the army is able to go out in helicopters and hopefully not just drop the bodies. I found that a bit horrific when they were just throwing bodies out remember that scene? There was that guy skateboarding, and then the helicopter went by and they were just chucking zombies out the window.
Oh, yeah.
And they were landing on the cars and then just ravaging. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that they get the army together and then they go over the zombies and kill them all or something. Maybe drop fire on them or something.
And again, we come back to the question of who are the monsters. It's so curious.
Mm-hmm.
It's so curious. I don't know. Yeah, like maybe once a zombie has been satiated, they can be sort of like more chill members of society. I don't know.
Right?
No one's going to find out this way.
Yeah.
This movie, no one, this is not Shaun of the Dead. No one's ending up on a leash in the backyard playing video games.
Well, yeah. Then there's the other one that like Omega Man, which
I've
was
never seen
called I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Oh, does that have zombies?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So he's a doctor and the zombie thing has started, but he has made some serum and he's hoping that it will be tested and save people. But the guy who's flying his helicopter to try and take him with the serum to Washington or whatever, the helicopter crashes. He pops himself in the leg with the serum and it does work. So there's the serum solution in zombie movies too.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So then you can't become a zombie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Which is what they're doing in the Last of Us. Have you watched any of that?
No.
So they Yeah, so they turn into those like mushroom people, right? With all those fungus things. It's kind of weird. But they think that this one young girl has been bitten and she didn't die. So they think that maybe her blood has some kind of property that could make a serum. So
Everyone's always out for the blood of a young girl, no matter what we do, where we go, how we live.
it's very true. Yeah.
Well, my friends,
Always.
Yes.
do we think this movie pops?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Oh my God,
yes.
absolutely.
Me too.
On our zombie journey, this might be the best. We'll see, but I think
have
so.
high hopes for the rest of the next
I
few.
do, but yeah.
But this is such a high point for me.
Yeah,
personally.
absolutely. Yeah. It
Yeah.
still holds up too. Like
Yeah,
watching
absolutely.
it the second time, like no notes.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it is from 2016, right?
Yeah.
And I know that, people are always, we're so obsessed with our phones, but phones were a big part of this movie. A very big part.
Yeah. Absolutely. In a funny way, oftentimes. Like,
Yeah.
which pleased me. All right. Well, we love to leave things, our episode, on things we also recommend. What do you got for us this week, Lisa?
Well, I am going to recommend Nobody Wants This.
Okay.
I think in terms of a rom-com, it's quite lovely. It's very sweet. It's like very gentle, very kind, very thoughtful. I'm on episode 6. There's 10 of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a second series. I presume with how popular it is, it might have a second season, but I don't know if you're looking for the good rom-coms as we often are. It fulfills many of the tasks. I'm really enjoying it.
And is that on Netflix?
Yes, Netflix. Yeah.
Cool.
AG, what about you?
I'm going to recommend this doc called Paid in Full, The Battle for Black Music. It's on CBC Gem right now, and it's a 3-part series, executive produced by Idris and Sabrina Elba. And it talks about and it's narrated by Julie Black, and it talks about how, Black artists have been exploited basically since the dawn of music.
Yeah.
And it kind of, goes through the eras of music. You hear about Bessie Smith, Nina Simone. They go through like Stax Records and Motown, and then it kind of ends in part 3 with artists today and how, like they're getting exploited by streaming services. And it's very devastating to watch in a lot of ways, but you learn a lot about the myriad of ways in which the music industry has screwed over Black artists.
Yeah. And a friend of ours, I think, well, at least a few of us, Del Cowie, he worked on the documentary as well, doing some stuff. So I am always, everything Del works on is really great. And I've heard a lot of good things about this documentary series, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like excited to find out the information, not excited about
We got
what.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to be clear. I am going to recommend just, I feel like maybe you guys have already recommended it without me. I'm not sure. But anyway, Only Murders in the Building is on season 4. I love this show. It continues to be a lot of fun. And I am actually very much enjoying this season. Because I feel like each season has a point of view and is sort of playing with form a lot, and this season continues that trend. So,
do you still get lots of beautiful interiors of the building and everybody's apartments?
This has less interiors of the beautiful side of the building, and it goes to explore the west side of the building, which has slightly less beautiful interiors and is more. It sort of explores like the class difference in the Arconia.
Interesting.
Well, it is big, right?
Yep.
Oliver's apartment is the most fascinating, beautiful place to me.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
But I presume these are all sets, yes?
Yes.
Yes,
I believe
okay.
so. Yes.
Yeah. I did find that maybe I don't know why, but in the Rosemary's Baby, that's actually in the Dakota.
Yeah.
So, and I always thought that was quite fascinating. It's the actual building in New York.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
to me, like Oliver's apartment is just like the quintessential New York artist's apartment. And like, I love every scene that they have in there.
Yeah, we're not as much in Oliver's apartment this year. I'm sorry, but I still highly recommend it, and think y'all will enjoy it.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yay! Well, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for hanging out with us as we go about our more brains, please, zombie month. Just more brains all the time. You could hang out with us on social media. Where, let's face it, there's not a lot of brains on there, so don't go there. No, you can email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com, and you could rate and review us 5 stars.
And if you paint a credit card, let me know, because I'll probably watch it.
Especially if it's on TikTok.
Exactly, yeah. And thank you to Andrea Gin, who, I mean, I always appreciate, but
no, like when I put things in your calendar that's too far ahead of time.
It's a bit tricky for people like me. I'm sorry. I'll just say that out loud.
Can I be just extra crass for 1 second?
Ooh.
I'm going to go backwards to when I'm going to recommend stuff. I'm going to recommend my own book because it's coming out on October 15th.
Oh,
and it's
how is that crass?
And I should probably say something about it because anyway, I wrote a book a long time ago. It was my first book ever in 2015. It's coming back out with ECW. There's 20,000 more words. A slightly different title. It's called We Ought to Know How Celine, Shania, Alanis, and Sarah Ruled the 90s and Changed Music.
All right. I'm excited.
Thank you. It's coming out October 15th. I also read the audiobook. So if you're like, oh, I'd rather listen to more of your dulcet tones and unusual pronunciations of common words, then please get the audiobook through Audible.
Oh, wow. Now I'm having flashbacks to recording your other audiobook.
Yeah. But you can also, just find your favorite indie bookstore and try and order it from there. That's the best way possible because it helps us all out. Or if you're like, dude, I can't buy more books, I get you. I understand. And please ask your library to carry it because that's also super helpful and really wonderful. And if you're in Vancouver and you want to come out to some fun stuff, sorry, this is a really long braggy, blurby part of the podcast that I'm so sorry about, you guys. I sprung it on you and we'll see if AG leaves it in. October 24th, Carlos and I are doing a trivia night for the Vancouver Writers Festival. It's 80s and 90s trivia, a little bit because I have both Dirty Dancing and We Ought to Know out this year. So it'll be really fun. And I'm in conversation with 2 other writers and we're going to have a fun trivia night. And then on the Friday night, there's a very fun event called, I think it's Soundtrack to the Danger Zone, or it's Highway to the Danger Zone. It's about soundtracks. And I will be one of a number of writers doing 3 to 5 minutes about a song on a soundtrack. I would love you to guess which soundtrack I'll be talking about. And then October 27th is my actual book release. If you're in Vancouver, it's called We Oughta Drag Brunch, and it is put on by Sleepy Queers Productions, and it will be at R&B Brewing. And there will be a link that you can click on, I don't know, on my Instagram or maybe in the show notes. If AG keeps this in, we'll see. And yeah, you can come out and see a bunch of really great drag kings, queens, and things.
Well, Sleepy Queers is Sid's.
Sid, Bruce and Beer, Sid's, and Sleepy Queers, and they're together. So they are friend of the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Sid's been on the podcast.
They've been on the podcast lots, and they're great. And they're co-presenting this book launch for me, and so you'll get to see a lot of fun people do some incredible performances, and I'll do a little reading.
Yay! That sounds great.
All right, that's amazing, exciting.
Yay!
Exciting. Yay.
Thanks for letting me talk about myself a lot.
Well, I mean,
You
I
deserve
love it. Yeah, you deserve it. So fantastic.
Thanks, pals.
Mwah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.